The good people over at Blue Gaia Publishing have sent me a new deck for review. This deck is a gift for the purposes of doing an honest review, and that is exactly what we're going to do today. Let me show you the price, and here are the creators: Lama, Tendar, and Dechen. And there is the link to Blue Gaia Publishing. Underneath this video, I will give you a link directly to this deck in case you're interested in purchasing it. A lot of you guys know that I'm very fond of the spirituality and the philosophy from the East. I practice Mayat, which is the spiritual system of the people from Kemet. But I've always had a fondness for all types of spiritual systems from that part of the world. So Buddhism is a favorite of mine. I have a lot of Buddhism decks and books. Love that. Love the piece of it. So it's going to be a treat for us to take a look at this. My name is QueenAusetHeru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and pass it on to anyone and everyone who might like it too. Please drop us a positive comment in the comment section. And if you want to get a reading done, my personal information will be underneath this video. First, you'll see the link to this deck. Then you'll see links to how you can link up with me. Okay? All right, so let's look at this beautiful deck. I like the finger holes. That's a must for me. Love the prettiness, the color of the inside of the box. Love how sturdy the box is. That is always a plus. For some reason, they always send this little piece of paper with their decks. And I always keep this because I end up using them for petitions when I'm doing magic. So they always come in extremely handy. Now we're going to open this up and see what's here first. The first thing we have is the guidebook. So each card... Oh, okay. So it's a lot of information in the beginning of it about Buddhism, the path to enlightenment, happiness, all that kind of stuff. So it would really pay if you buy this. It would pay to read that first. And then the card messages are in part 3. So it would pay to look at part 1 and part 2 first. There isn't very much. Here's our table of contents as well. Let's see if I can get it in focus for you a little bit better. There we go. So this is part 1, Buddhism teachings. Part 2, how to work with the deck, and then the card messages. Okay. Like I said before, there is color, but it's not like, let me see. It's not a lot of illustrations, but there are illustrations and it is colored. And the meanings are very short and sweet, to the point, it looks like. When we're finished, we'll take a look at one just to see. When you open up your box, this is what you're going to see. I had the cards. They were tucked right in there, nice and neat. Take them out. See if anything else is in this box. And nope. Just at the bottom, there's a chant there. And that's it. Now we're going to get right into the cards. The cards are in a piece of paper, which I always like. Let me take it off. I prefer the paper, you guys know, to the plastic, so I'm always pleased to see that. Let's pull this all the way up so you can see every card. And then we're going to see. Okay, so they're in alphabetical order. Now, let me show you something before we get started. Each card has this on the back. Beautiful. Just like on the box. They're not too thick, see, and not too thin. I would say that's just right. That's good. They feel soft on both sides. Not exactly a petal finish, but very close. Very, very close. And since everyone has the same back, I'll just show you the front. Now I'm going to zoom in. Don't get dizzy. There we go. Okay. Innocent mind. Hmm. Okay. And they're all in order. So they're in numeric order. They're counted. But let me see. Yeah, they're all in numeric order. So that's how we're gonna have to find them inside of the book. Okay. So far, I think it's cool that they're circular. I have a lot of circular decks, so I would probably use these with the other circular decks. Like I have Daughters of the Moon, that's circular. The Tea Leaf Oracle is circular. And I think I have maybe two or three other ones too. So it would be fun to use the circular decks together. If you're thinking about pairings, that would be cool as far as the shape is concerned. Or you may want to use it with your other. I have other Buddhist decks. I have like two or three of them. So you might want to use it like that since they have a similar um, vibration coming from the same system. And as you can see, I've noticed here that they stick with very pretty pastel colors. We saw the colors on the box. So these are the same colors we're noticing on the box and the colors that are on the back as well. But they're soft. That's one of the things I noticed about the deck. The feel and the look are very soft. If you're familiar with Buddhist teachings, you'll be pretty familiar with the things that they're talking about: kindness, dedication. You'll be kind of familiar with these things, enlightenment. And if you're not, the beginning of the book seemed to give a pretty decent synopsis. I mean, you could study Buddhism for probably a century and still have more to learn. But they give a pretty decent summary at the beginning. So if you want to know more, that's why I said it would pay. A lot of times when you get a guidebook, it really does pay to flip through it first, because they always have these gems in every one for you to read, and it makes it easier, I think, to use the deck. I also love the fact that there are 52 cards in here because you guys know I'm always hoping for more cards. And usually, if I get 44, I'm really happy. So 52 has me like jumping up and down. So you might be thinking to yourself, how can I use this deck? When could I use this deck? Well, this deck is great for a daily pull. For somebody who likes to pull a card, I love doing that. Pulling a card and then contemplating on whatever it's talking about off and on throughout the day, maybe journaling about what it's talking about. That's something that I do very often. So this deck would be good for the daily pull. This deck would also be good if you wanted to post them on your your social media because it's not glossy, so it won't be difficult to take pictures, and video of them. So if you wanted to show this on your page or something like that, this is the kind of deck that would really be great for that. So I know a lot of people love doing that, so that's cool. You just shuffle them up and then I guess pick one by random. You also can use this deck in conjunction, like I said earlier, with other decks. So let's say, for example, you used a circular tarot deck, and then this deck, and then maybe a deck that talks about crystals. Because I have a crystal deck that's circular. I can't remember the name of it. And maybe you have another one. And you can make like a circular pattern. Put the biggest card in the middle and the other circles around it. There's a lot of different ways you could play with making your own spreads that way. So that could be cool too. Just using it with another, pairing it with other decks or another deck. I also like this deck for altar work. So let's say you're doing a candle to stay in the present moment, and you could use this card. You could just look through the cards, and instead of picking one at random, find one that fits what your ritual is. So that's another thing that seems to be awesome. An awesome use of this particular deck. I like it. I like it a lot. And you know something? For me, I have a lot of decks. You guys know I collect decks, so I have a lot of them. And for me, a deck has to be functional, and this deck is extremely functional. And also, I'm gonna show you at the end because some people always ask me, how do you shuffle? I'm gonna show you how to shuffle this deck because a lot of people are intimidated by circular decks because of like, how do I shuffle this, and I was too in the very beginning. So I'm going to show you guys, in case you haven't seen me do it before, how we can shuffle this deck. And I like the fact that they're not too big, so that won't be a difficult thing to do. If the circles or the rectangles, whatever, shape the cards are in, if they're too big, it's really difficult for me to shuffle. Because my hands are a good size, but if it's too big, like I have this one deck. What is it called? It's called the Inner Child Workbook, and it comes with it's a deck with it called the Inner Child cards, and these are beautiful cards, but they're huge. They're so huge. So it's like 3 times the size of this card. So if it's too big, it's difficult for me to shuffle them. But these are a great size for shuffling. And so far, as I'm looking through these messages are extremely helpful. And depending upon what you get, like where you are in life, where your head is at, um, like this one is talking about the mental. So depending upon where you are in your present state of mind, that could be very helpful. Also, you can do a whole spread with these. You don't have to have another deck. You could do, for example, mind, body, spirit, and pull 3 cards. You could do AM, noon, PM, and pull 3 cards. You could do past, present, future. So you could do other spreads with just this one deck. So that's good too. And I feel like if you got 3 of these cards, it would explain a lot. And if you're somebody who practices Buddhism or who wants to practice Buddhism, this could be great for your practice as well. Because as I'm going through these, remember I said that they talk about, many of the important concepts in Buddhism. So if you're somebody who's just learning, it's a great reminder. If you use this deck, let's say for 30 days and pulled a different card every day, you would learn a lot. Social pressure. I learned about Buddhism from a number of different sources, but one of them was Ajahn Brahm. Ajahn Brahm does videos on YouTube, and he talks about basically these long, maybe like hour-long lectures about different principles of Buddhism and how to apply them to everyday life. And when I found him, I was in a bad situation. I was working in a job that I hated. I was very unhappy. And I just needed I needed something, to get up and go to work every day and not be depressed. And that's what I used. I used the Buddhist teachings, and they were very helpful, I'll tell you that. I made it through that school year. It was my last job as a high school teacher, my last gig. And I made it through that school year, and I didn't think I was going to make it. I didn't. I thought I was going to just walk out. I was just so unhappy. And the first place, I had worked at 2 different schools. And the first school, the principal was just awful. She was just insufferable. And the second school, the kids were just, oh my God, they were just having a hard time. They were having a hard time and giving us a hard time. Everybody was having a hard time in the building. The administration, the parents, everybody. So it was just overall, it just really difficult. And Buddhism is what helped me get through it. Teaching me how to stay calm, how to be patient, how to be compassionate, how to be kind. And those talks are really what helped me get up every day and look at myself and be like, what can you do to make this better? What can you do to be kind today? What can you do to have more compassion today? And the more I ask myself those questions, the less I suffered. So That's why I have a soft spot in my heart for Buddhism. Okay. I like how simple they are. You notice that they're very simple. Like each card has, in the background, this beautiful, and they're all similar. I'm looking at the next card. They're all very similar. The backgrounds, as you can see, but they're subtle. They're very subtle. They're just back, not being too assuming. And then just the lotus flower, the number, and some words. The most illustrated part is really the back of the card. And I like a heavy illustration. I do. I'm a maximalist, as you guys know. So I do like heavy illustration. But at the same time, I really can appreciate a soft, gentle, minimalist moment. And that's what this is to me. These are very soft, very gentle, very minimalist. The artwork really isn't the focus as it is in some cards. It's really the message. And a lot of cards, a lot of decks that I have, I would say both. I would say the art is equally as important as the message. But in this one, it's like the message is being showcased. Like really focus on respect, focus on loving kindness. And I like this a lot. I feel like Buddhism lowers my blood pressure. I don't know if any of you guys noticed that, but if you're practicing Buddhism or you're just learning about it, listening to the different, talks that they have, I feel like it lowers my blood pressure. I feel like it just makes me calm. Just the whole concept of it. And even if you're not a Buddhist, a lot of these concepts, every spiritual system talks about. Whose spiritual system doesn't talk about generosity, compassion? I think they all pretty much do. So a lot of like this one, trust, forgiveness is coming up. So a lot of these, I feel like even if you are not Buddhist, you don't know nothing about it, it still could be beneficial to you because these are still things that as human beings, we all should consider. Who doesn't need to consider forgiveness? If they want to forgive themselves and others, how to forgive themselves and others if they choose to. Many of us want to be enlightened. And what does that mean? To what extent? So I feel like even if you are somebody who's Christian or Muslim or, any other spiritual system, like I'm a priestess of Mayat, and I feel like we all can get something from this. I feel that way about a lot of decks, though. I feel like anybody really can use them. Okay, so we're almost finished. This is mentality. And yeah, we have one more, 52. And 52 here is transformation. Okay, so I am going to go back in. I would like to look at one I want to read. This is the one. I didn't even know if I would be able to find it. I like that one. That one jumped out at me. Compassion, number 19. So let's take a look at the guidebook. Great compassion is based on pure intention that is free from emotional entanglement with those you are trying to help. You can be of most service to others when you are at peace within yourself. All right, let's go to the page. Okay, so that's what it says. We found it. I'm going to show you. Here it is. They're all numbered, and we're going to read the bottom portion. Compassion is not about enduring other people's harm. Compassion means facilitating others to accomplish virtue. If spending time with your friends only gives them opportunities to repeat a bad habit, then the best way to help your friends is to cut yourself clean from the emotional entanglement. Seek peace and empowerment. Offer yourself mental space to enjoy the blessings of life. Those who have accomplished happiness literally left suffering behind and engaged themselves in happiness. After you have become peaceful yourself, you will be empowered to offer real help to your friends. Okay, it's beautiful. All right. So as you can see, it's a beautiful, practical, here we go, practical, common sense message. Um, and now I'm going to show you how to shuffle them. Let's see if we can do it. Well, first of all, you can always do this, obviously. You know, a lot of people I know, they just do that. And they do them this way, so you can't see what it's saying. And they just shuffle them hand over, hand over, hand over, and they do it like that. For me, I do that in between doing something like this. Let's see if I can make it happen. This is how I would shuffle first. And then push them together. See? And that wasn't hard at all. They're not too thick and not too thin, but they are sturdy. So you're going to have to put a little bit of muscle into it. So you line them up in your hands, but not too much, as you can see. I'm not really straining or anything. And I just let them go. And for me, that's a good shuffle. Okay? So you definitely can shuffle them like that. All right, loves. That is our deck of the day. I'll put one here for the outro. So I highly recommend these. I don't have any complaints. Usually I'll be like, oh well, it needs this or it needs that. I don't have any complaints at all. There's nothing about it I would change, and there's nothing that I would add. Oh, yes it is. I just saw something I would add. The edges. I would probably have colored the edges, maybe a pink or a teal or something like that. But this deck is a 10 out of 10. That's just a cosmetics thing. I like doing that. And some people don't like the edges done, especially with the gold foiling. I think the gold foiling is beautiful, but some people tell me it really hurts their hand. So that's the only thing I could say about this deck that I would add to it, but I wouldn't take anything away. I love the way that they did it. I love how soft it is, and I think that it's a beautiful addition to any collection. It's also a beautiful gift, by the way. If you know somebody who is Buddhist, or if you know somebody who is trying to seek enlightenment, maybe they're not in any spiritual system, they're just trying to seek what's true. I think people like that would like this. It's something that even if they choose to do something else later on, it's something that can be helpful in the present tense. And like I said, anybody really could use it. So I think it's a really beautiful gift, and it's not a bad price point. Christmas is coming up for those of you who want to do some early Christmas shopping. The link will be, once again, beneath this video. And thank you to Blue Gaia Publishing for sending me over this beautiful deck for review. You guys come back soon because I got a lot more to say. See you later.